So I started the series called The Problem With to try and share counter views to popular viral food creators. The idea is to accept my own biases, call out where I agree with them, and use the moments where I disagree as opportunities to discover and learn basic science together. As always, the focus is on ideas, not on the individual. And I don't expect you to change your views. I just want to place more ideas on the table. This week, Fittuber. In the first episode, I looked at a few videos from Satvik movement and started a conversation about privilege. The fact that our expensive choices are not necessarily superior to choices made by most average people, be it organic or kind of cookware or processed food, etc. And also call out the anti-profit view about food. The people growing and processing our food also deserve to be compensated at the same level we expect to be. And last but not the least, pointing out that India is incredibly diverse and we cannot use one narrow cultural definition from one part of India from thousands of years ago on what good food is. All this while appreciating the fact that their motivation is to get people to eat healthy, fresh, home-cooked food. And Fittuber sort of fits into a similar category. Vivek Mittal is a very popular YouTuber and makes videos about overall wellness, healthy eating, fitness, yoga. And he reviews consumer products on his page to help people pick what he believes to be the best ones. Since I'm not an expert on fitness or shampoos, I don't have an opinion on that content. However, the food-related content, I have some comments. Let's take a deeper look at a few of his videos.
Your milk or curd gone sour, rather than consuming it and imbalancing your pitta dosha due to its hot potency, use it to wash the hair and skin during bathing.
Both milk and curd go sour due to microbial activity, specifically from lactobacteria producing lactic acid, which is sour. The bacteria eat the sugars in milk and the lactic acid causes the casein protein in milk to clump together, which is how dahi or curd is made. Depending on which part of India you're from and how rich or poor you are, the tolerance for amount of sourness will vary. In the south, we're pretty used to consuming sour curd. Just add salt, which cuts the sensation of sourness. We also use it to make rava idli and rava dosa. And it does not imbalance your pitta or anything because there is no such thing. Now, at this point, you probably think, oh, this is just Ashok's bias against these traditional ideas that we have sworn by for thousands of years. Hey, look, but to be honest, life expectancy at the time of independence was 40 years. It's almost 75 now in states like Kerala. So let's not dismiss the role of modern medicine and science while blindly glorifying ideas from the past. In general, the past is almost always, on average, worse for the average human. People will say, but my grandfather was healthier than I am. He lived to be 90 and never had any problems. Your grandfather was quite likely one of 12 children. 2 of his siblings likely died from preventable infectious diseases like smallpox because they did not have vaccines back then. 2 more likely died young from diabetes or infections because we did not have insulin or antibiotics back in the day. Women died young because they used to be undernourished and give birth 8 to 10 times in their life. The myth of the healthy past is sustained by a survivorship bias, where you only get to see the ultra healthy and lucky, like our grandparents, survive to tell the tale. I know it's counterintuitive, so I don't expect you to immediately accept it. All I want you to consider is maybe ideas like vata, pitta should be relegated to the past. But let me give you a thought experiment. There is a concept in Nyaya philosophy called tarka, best translated as reasoning or logical deduction. It is similar in many ways to the 19th century concept of falsifiability by Karl Popper, which is the cornerstone of the scientific method. It says that when someone makes a claim, to find out whether it's true or false, you've got to be able to design an experiment or measurement to prove it false. Only then can you prove it true. So take the concept of pitta and hot and cold foods. If sour curd is heat inducing, what experiment or measurement can prove that false? Is it body temperature? Nope. Food does not change your body temperature. Is it stomach pH? Maybe the acidity from the sour curd makes your stomach or gut acidic? No, because the stomach adjusts pH based on the sourness of the food you eat, and by the time food gets to your gut, the pancreas produces soda, bicarbonates, to neutralize the acid. But in all humility, let me not say outright that it is not true. But until it can be experimentally proven wrong, I don't think you should take ideas from 3000 years ago about curd seriously, especially given that we live in a world where electricity, refrigeration, and pasteurization exist. That said, very sour curd can also harbor other kinds of bad bacteria. So, as always, use your personal judgment and science. And using it on your hair is fine. The lactic acid helps remove dead skin cells, and the protein strengthens the hair. So,
I'm going to share with you 4 kitchen products that you should throw away immediately. Most of these products are used daily in Indian households, and to know that these products pose some serious health hazards is really disturbing.
oh, really? As a general rule, I don't like throwing things away. So there had better be some really good reasons.
Later, it goes through a series of refining process through which it is made free-flowing using aluminium-based anti-caking agents.
For starters, anti-caking agents are added to keep it free-flowing, not make it free-flowing. Salt, as we learnt in middle school science, is hygroscopic, meaning that it absorbs water from its surroundings, and that makes it clump together. Anti-caking agents absorb that moisture and allow salt to flow freely. And the anti-caking agent INS 536 that was highlighted, that's not aluminum based, it's potassium based.
Bleach to look cleaner, whiter, more beautiful, and have an increased shelf life.
Sodium chloride is already white in color. So here refining refers to removing impurities rather than making it white.
All this comes at the expense of natural minerals that came from the sea, and not to forget the added chemicals that come along.
There is a lot to unpack here. In one dish, you add perhaps a teaspoon of salt. No matter what fancy salt you use, it is still more than 98% sodium chloride. So 2% of 1 teaspoon really contains an insignificantly tiny amount of minerals. Your daily requirement of minerals is much higher and comes mostly from regular food, not salt. And it's the sodium that is associated with hypertension, not the anti-caking agents, which are added in super tiny quantities. 100 grams of salt has 0.1 grams of anti-caking agent.
Well, it has been heavily marketed for being iodized. Of course, iodine has vital functions to perform in the body, but then we Indians can easily get the daily dose of iodine naturally through lentils, pulses, green vegetables, and dairy products.
Now, this is downright dangerous. Let me explain. Dals and green leafy vegetables do not contain meaningful amounts of iodine. Dairy, milk, yogurt, and cheese are fine, but still not considered enough. Otherwise, the only way to get iodine from your diet is seafood. Other than people living on the coast, most Indians do not consume seafood. And remember, as you age, dairy consumption goes down because of lactose intolerance. And iodine is essential for thyroid function. This is why worldwide, more than a century ago, the idea of adding iodine to salt was adopted because it prevented, in addition to thyroid problems, other horrible things like children with underdeveloped brains. Please do not take this risk. Just use iodized salt every day. If you want to use fancy salts, use them for flavor on special occasions. You don't have to trust me over Fittuber, but trust 100 years of actual scientists and doctors in every single country adopting this.
Also, it's worth noting that the potassium iodate is industrially added in the salt and might even have side effects.
How does your body know whether the iodine was added industrially? It's not like it comes with a passport that the intestine's immigration officer can check. This is a very common fallacy called appeal to nature. The idea that natural is better than synthetic or industrial. Your body cannot tell the difference.
Rock salt, or senda namak as it is commonly called, is 100% natural, unrefined, and not free-flowing.
1. Rock salt does not contain iodine. Please use iodized salt. to 83 micronutrients. There are 30 essential vitamins and 13 essential minerals. And rock salt has insignificant amounts of some of these minerals, not vitamins. What are these remaining mysterious 50 micronutrients?
Unlike the inflammatory refined salt, rock salt keeps the body cool.
Now, a lot of influencers throw this word around. What ingredient present in less than 1% of table salt, something that you consume less than 5 grams of every day, affects which biochemical pathways resulting in inflammation? If anyone uses the word inflammation, ask them to explain how.
It is a digestive, aphrodisiac, and beneficial for eyes.
Oh, aphrodisiac. How? On a lighter note, the only scientifically proven aphrodisiac for men is to become really fit, like Fittuber. Building muscle increases testosterone, not Shilajit. Look, at the end of the day, salt is salt. It's mostly sodium chloride, and we consume a very small amount every day. It is not a meaningful source of minerals. It is not inflammatory, nor is it an aphrodisiac. It is, however, a critical source of iodine.
Most commercial pickles available in the Indian market have more of unhealthy additives than the pickle in it.
Fun fact, homemade pickles have similar amounts of sugar, salt, or oil. The basic concept of pickling is to use these three things to preserve food. The only difference here is that store-bought pickle is legally obligated to tell you exactly how much. Homemade pickle, not really. There is no reason for a brand to add excess salt, sugar, or oil in a pickle beyond the minimum required to preserve it. India is a price-sensitive market. Now let's look at the additives he's scaring us about. INS 260 is glacial acetic acid, commonly produced by natural fermentation reactions. Also, vinegar is diluted acetic acid used in preservation for thousands of years. INS 330 is citric acid, present in all citrus foods naturally and mostly manufactured by natural fermentation of molasses. Again, as a general rule, acidic ingredients increase shelf life, and your body cannot tell the difference between citric acid from organic Gondoraj limes and INS 330.
Pickle is something our Indian mothers are expert at. Without any preservative or refrigeration, they prepare it in such a way that it stays well for years at stretch.
No, our mothers add salt, acids, and oil, all of which are preservatives. This fear of preservatives is quite silly. When you buy a product from the store, you expect it to not rot quickly. So a tiny amount of preservatives is added, and we have a century of data to show that they are not harmful if you consume these foods in moderation. No matter how much we glorify free maternal labor, not every mother has the time to make pickles, and those fancy, no preservative options are pretty expensive.
You will be amazed to know how easily you can make mozzarella cheese at home in just 30 minutes. All you need is milk, prefer buffalo milk or use full-fat A2 milk, and a natural vinegar.
That's not mozzarella, that's paneer. Mozzarella is made by using rennet, an enzyme that curdles milk more slowly than vinegar or lime juice, resulting in more water retention and bonds that are easier to stretch. Enzymatic coagulation also results in less calcium loss. Adding acids to milk removes calcium, which is lost to the whey. And calcium improves the meltability of cheese. By all means, enjoy your paneer pizza, but that is not mozzarella. You can make mozzarella at home as well. Just use rennet.
Ayurvedic scriptures propound various herbs and concoctions that help cleanse the digestive tract and reset the gut in a few days.
Okay, this video is accurate when it comes to explaining how the gut works and how critical gut health is, and also makes a very important point about just eating light food and getting good sleep, and the gut will fix itself. But then what is this gut reset and gut detox? We have trillions of gut bacteria and there is no such thing as a reset. And only your liver and kidney detox. Eating some magic herb is not going to detox. So actually just listen to the first part of this video. You just eat a diet that has enough prebiotics, soluble fiber, and optionally probiotics, and get good sleep. That's it. Just reduce consumption of deep fried, super sweet, and ultra processed foods that reduce gut bacteria diversity. Nearly 99% of gut health content on the internet is scamming you. If you still have a problem, see a doctor.
And navel is the only point in the body where 72,000 subtle energy channels merge.
Wait, what? 72,000 energy channels? What does that even mean? Actually, in adults, the navel is not connected to any organs, and you do not have to trust me. You can just read an anatomy textbook. Doctors and scientists have cut open enough dead bodies to know every single nerve, blood vessel, and organ. So, 72,000 energy channels should be pretty visible, but it is not.
So if you oil the navel, you will receive the benefits from head to toe.
There is zero evidence that oiling your navel has any benefits. It's a cultural practice. In fact, little or nothing gets absorbed via the navel, so I'm not sure how the oil is actually going to affect you.
Ayurveda calls belly button a sadhyo pranahar marma point, which is why even a small strike directly on your belly button can prove to be fatal.
No, not really. Again, the belly button is a disconnected, non-important part of the body. While I strongly recommend not striking people in the belly button, it is not fatal. It is, however, a fatal failure of common sense. Look, we could keep going, but then this video will be hours long. Let's just see a few more thumbnails now. Potatoes were introduced to India only very recently and were not cultivated widely before the late 19th century. So how can it feature in an Ayurvedic combination? Again, excellent video explaining why vitamin B12 is essential, but plants don't have B12. No, hot water does no such thing. If you just drink enough water of any kind, your liver and kidney will detox you. The PDCAS, protein digestibility corrected amino acid score for egg, is one of the highest. Legumes like urad dal, etc., much lower. To be clear, dals are decent sources of protein, but they are still mostly carbohydrates. For protein, eggs are better. No contest. I'm sorry, but you cannot increase your height beyond 16 to 18 years of age for most boys. The biggest factor for height is genetics, and then childhood nutrition. Height increase stops once growth plates at the end of long bones close. That's it. Anyone trying to sell you height increase is misleading you. So in conclusion, I see certain common patterns. Most Fittuber videos contain a fair amount of scientifically accurate background information presented in very easy to understand ways about the importance of gut health, the benefits of nutritious food, the criticality of micronutrients, good fitness advice, etc. But then there seems to be a tendency to glorify the ancient past and retroactively try to explain it with science, or a tendency to dismiss modern science in favor of obsolete ideas. And it does not work because modern medicine requires evidence and human randomized controlled trials, something that is incompatible with the fundamentalist idea that if it's written in some ancient book, it must be true. In my experience, there are Ayurvedic practitioners who are more honest about this distinction than influencers merely looking to exploit that magic word for likes and views. 2. A preference for traditional products over anything made in a factory. And in some cases like iodized salt, it's dangerously irresponsible advice being shared with millions of followers. To be fair, a common criticism I get on my page is that I'm biased against traditional knowledge. So let me clarify that. Traditional knowledge is very valuable, but it is only valuable if we keep it up to date with the scientific progress human civilization has made over time. Just as an example, curcumin, boswellic acids, forskolin, and rezapine are promising molecules that come from taking ideas from Ayurveda and doing human randomized controlled trials. Likewise, many things our grandmothers and mothers do in the kitchen are easily explainable by science. In fact, I do that in my book, Masala Lab. Particularly in cooking, grandmother's wisdom is almost always scientifically verifiable. This is because the daily practice of cooking is like a scientific experiment. So knowledge is constantly updated over the years. And we test and validate with our tastes every single time we eat. But when it comes to saying something like this increases body heat, increases pitta, that is from something written thousands of years ago. And we must test it with all the instruments we have today before accepting it blindly. You also have to remember that influencers today will use the word Ayurveda but never tell you all the parts of Ayurveda they quietly ignored. Ayurveda recommends the consumption of alcohol and various kinds of meat like deer and lizard for specific ailments. I have not seen influencers explain why they don't recommend alcohol or deer meat nowadays. How are we to know whether sour curd having hot properties is true, but deer meat being medicine is not? Why do influencers get to cherry pick? That's what we have scientific experiments for. But if you want a simpler rule of thumb, your grandmother's advice in the kitchen is likely to be scientific, but your grandfather's WhatsApp forwards about Ayurveda, probably not.